Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's webinar on Safety First, Best Practice and Strategies to Manage Construction Site Compliance. I am Lisa, your host today, and I'm excited to be here with all of you today. Before we begin, let's go over some guidelines items to ensure a smooth and engaging webinar experience. Please keep your microphone muted throughout the session to minimize background noise. If you have any question or comment, please use the chat box on your right-hand side of your screen. We encourage active participation, so feel free to ask questions or share your thoughts during the question and segment. Now let's introduce our speaker today. We have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Harvin, who is our digital transformations partner. He has a wealth of knowledge and experience on safety first compliance on site management. We are grateful to have him here today to share his insights with us. Without further, I will now hand over the virtual floor to Mr. Arvin. Please join me in giving Mr. Harvin a warm welcome as he begins his presentation. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa. And good morning, guys. Thank you. So thank you for having me here, and also thank you to Lisa also to coordinate this session. Thank you very much on this. I think without further ado, so basically, I really like to appreciate those who have attended this webinar. I believe that those attendees have been, attended to this webinar were pretty much interested in what's I'm going to present right now. Basically, the main idea and also the key for this webinar is basically I'm going to discuss with you guys what are the available best practices to manage the construction site safety compliance as well. So this is the overall agenda of this webinar as well. So as you can see, first of all, I'd like to start up with a question. Why? So just a moment. Yeah, why safety management is required on construction site, majorly talking about. So to address that, right, so there will be a points they're talking about ensuring the well-beings of workers. I could say this is the key when we're talking about site safety, when anyone is talking about safety first, right? The very first thing that we are addressing is the well-being of workers on site, and eventually followed by the legal and regulatory requirements. So there are requirements in place by certain, safety bodies, safety regulatory bodies, which I'm going to share to you later as well. And all the builders, the contractors, the developers need to comply to that requirements, right? And obviously talking about social responsibility, because it's not only talking about your workers, it's also talking about the public health and environment. So that's where the social responsibility when coming in. So I think most of you guys are very familiar with these terms called HSC, right? So health, safety, environment. Improve productivity and efficiency. So obviously, by managing the safety and you have a correct safety management proceedings, right? It will lead to improve the productivity on site and eventually the overall efficiency of project management and also the workers itself able to enhance as well. So as you can see, enhancement of reputation, this is where more into the branding of your organization itself, also correlated to the way how you're going to manage safety. So obviously we don't want to have like under this development, we don't want to have certain accidents or fatalities in place, obviously, right? So that's where our agenda, and eventually by maintaining this safety management, right, your maintaining your safety practices at site, able to enhance the reputation and credibility as well. Cost savings. So most of us thinks that safety management, the way I'm going to manage or comply to the safety proceedings, is a OPEX for me, which is operating expenditure. But eventually these costs we able to save. I won't say we able to neglect the cost. Yes, we still have to spend for safety management, but the best practice which I'm going to share in a while, basically it helps to save the cost itself. So as you can see, talking about all the safety regulations, right? Because one of my main points that now I was touching is on regulatories. So these were the three, I could say, aspects. So talking about OSHA is more on the administration act itself, and CIDB at Malaysia, when talking about Malaysia, right? And DOSH as well. So these were the typical regulatory bodies. I could say to some extent they were the policymakers when it comes to what are the safety regulations and what are the best practices should be followed on sites, right, during construction. I could say yes, the regulations are in place at Malaysia. There is no issues on that. These bodies are working very well on it, and they also like talking about CIDB, right? There is also training providers to them, to all the workers at site. I'm talking about a minimal level just for the entry pass. You guys know, right, the CIDB card. So that's very entry level. A person wants to work in the construction should have that CIDB card, right? So they were actually performing very well to maintain and to raise an awareness to all the workers regarding the site safety compliance as well. So despite have all these regulations in place, and also all the regulatory bodies place their role very well, there is still some challenges in Malaysian construction industry. So as you can see, just starting off with lack of safety awareness among workers. Yes, there is provision of trainings, but still there is a lack of safety awareness. This might be comes alongside, there are several factors affecting this due to, the way they are carrying out the safety proceedings. I could say the way, meaning, are they still having like how to say a very tough process workflow in place to just have maybe application for PPE. Just put it up in a simple way. So they might need a several approval before they got this PPE. So some of the organization they could have this because for the sake of saving, right? So they just want to make sure to track down the expenses they're spending for PPEs. Is it utilized properly or not? So talking about non-compliance with safety standard as well. Yes, as I mentioned, standards are there, but there is non-compliance by the workers. So this also, I could say, pretty much challenge that need to be addressed as soon as to improve the overall safety compliance at our nation as well. So you can say these high rates of accidents and fatalities, there is still high number of accidents. I'm going to put it up when it comes to OSHA, right? OSHA's records. Construction industry at Malaysia is, I could say, one of the high rates of accident have been recorded. Yes, this is the key. I could put it up. The document administration are time consuming. So talking about your safety site inspections, your safety records, your safety reports, and talking about all your PTW. So this is more on your safety activities. I could put it up, right? So those who are in documented forms where you have to attach all your reference, your photos, your drawings into some extent. So all of these document administration is time consuming. And obviously, we're talking about safety. It's subject to several levels of approval, correct? So this is where the time-consuming parts are coming into the picture. And safety programs are there, are not integrated. When talking about PTW, they might have their own workflow or own program to manage it, but this PTW and toolbox meeting is not integrated, meaning whatever is happening at toolbox meeting, it's some of the information to be updated when it's related to PTW also, right? So that's where I could say there is a miscommunication of one to another safety proceedings. Obviously, all of this also will lead to lack of visibility on site safety proceedings. What are the PTW is still pending? What are the PTW going to act today? All of these informations, right? We only able to capture by go and talk to a designated person. So there is no like I could put it up a single platform that they able to communicate and they able to have a full visibility on safety proceedings and also what are the processes that are related to safety to be concerned from ours, right? So to be considered so that they met the safety requirements, right? So safety first strategies, I could say these are the common strategies I like to share to you guys as well. So you're putting up regular safety training for workers, as you can see, talking about lack of awareness, right? So this is how we're going to address it. And followed by strict compliance with safety regulations. So this strict compliance will comes up with all those maybe enforcement for the compliance. So how are we going to address this? Example, if a person doesn't wear PPE in place and a person have been identified, right? maybe we might have like a a little type of punishment, because this is, I think, commonly in a construction industry they've been using this. So they have to pay like certain amount to the safety manager just to make sure he go the buy a right PPE for you and just wear it for them, so they will understand that okay, you have to pay a cost for it if you doesn't obey to the compliance, right? I think this is one of, I could say this is typical what's happening. Most of the safety officer will do this, but still to some extent, it doesn't enough, like, could you put it up, right? So there is more strict compliance to be needed to regulate this, and also obviously use of PPE. This is a process or a step that we cannot deny. We cannot, ignore just like that, because PPE is the very first, I could say, safety regulation, and also a safety proceedings to be followed by all the workers at site. Regular safety audits by third party. So this is where I think most of the industry players are looking towards to have a regular safety audits by, right, safety audits can be done internally as well by internal supervisors and everything. So I could say it will be more recommended by having a third party companies, third party organizations to carry out this kind of safety audits regularly. You're talking about 6 months once or year once on sites, so that, yeah, the safety proceedings that we are following is something that still can be improved, or is it fine, or what's the, I could say, pros and cons on our safety proceedings at site. So we able to get a full picture of what's happening at site, what is our regulation are, is it in line with all the regulatory bodies policies or not, right? So talking about implementation of safe work method statement, I think most of the sites, they already started to use this. They already have bots on some of the hazardous places as well, and some of the hazardous tasks that are going to be carried out. So we're talking about like hot works. What is the safe work method statement? So actually, I can see some of the, I could say, bots that have been printed out and just they have pasted over the places where they feel like it's hazardous, or the work they're going to carry out is hazardous. So it's already implemented. It's in most of the sites, as I can see. And I could say risk assessment and management is also a key for the safety strategies, how you going to manage your safety, right? And the foremost, very important, although all of the bullets have been ticked, this is the most important point I could put it up: effective communication and collaboration. When talking about, yes, I have all the proceedings in place, all the regulations have been followed, I have all the PP, I mean, all the workers with full PPE protected, but still, there is a need for single platform solution to able to visualize, to dashboard what's happening, who is attended toolbox meeting, what's the pending PTW, what is the near misses have been reported, what is the risk assessment that I can get out of the overall process, what's the safety inspection that currently running at site, who is in charge of it, what is qualification, is green card is active or not, how is yellow passport, your green your safety passport is active or not. All of this should be seen in a single platform. I could say, without having an effective communication and collaboration tool, although you're able to comply to all the regulations, right, there is no fulfillment on the safety regulation, I could say, on the safety regulation enforcement, actually. And how are you going to achieve it? By digitalizing your HSC management. So basically, these are the strategies I would like to share. And based on this digitalization of HSC, right, these are the best practices I would like to share to you guys. How they were able to digitalize the solution, how it encouraged for a single platform solution. So as you can see, there is like some of designation here. You can find it out. So you have to read this in an anti-clockwise manner, starting from workers. So this is as a simple, very simple, workflow on how the HSC data is managed in a real time, on or off the field, meaning on site or off site as well. So starting from workers, so workers who can submit the data, which is workers is the one on field, right? So they are pretty much into the workflows, and they were the person that going to, do the tasks as well. So they able to capture all the data by just using mobile application. So this is where you can see the digitalization process coming into the picture, and eventually effective communication and collaboration also occurs at the same time. Yep. So you can see the workers started to use mobile device to get all the data in. You're talking about inspections, your observation, all of these they can capture by using mobile. How? Yes, taking up photos, having a digital forms to be filled in. So all the workflows will be in the mobile app itself. And eventually the safety regulators, easy for them to access all the safety informations, right? By digital reports, by having a good, fantastic communication tool in place, right? When it comes to talking about safety regulations. So the safety regulators also very easy to them to extract all these informations just to make sure that, okay, are you in compliance with the regulatory or not? Yes, then proceed. The managers even can monitor the status of safety compliance in real time. Talking about the safety managers, which is, he will be presented in sites, right? So for him, it's very easy to conduct all the safety inspection, carry out risk assessment, and also monitor the corrective actions as well. So all of these different parties able to assign to different tasks, then they're able to retrieve whatever information they needed. This is where I'm talking about the effective communication talking, getting in place. And yes, how are we going to manage? So as I'm repeating the same stuff, managing the HSC, managing the health, safety, and environment processes. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this in one app? Is basically simple. We are going to tick all this. I could put it up a process or task so that toolbox meeting, observation, your PTW, safety site inspection, incident and near misses, people's qualification and equipment certification. So all of these aspects can be digitalized and can be assigned to designated person by using a mobile application itself. So there is no need of, I could say regular messaging tools or texting tools. No need for phone calls here and there. You able to track down who is delaying what stuffs, who is responsible for what kind of activity as well. So very first thing I could touch on conduct toolbox meeting digitally. I could say every morning when we step into the site, we can see all the people wearing a proper PPE, safety helmets, and just have a quick line up just to get the head counts and also some of the informations to be shared also. So as you can see, how we're going to manage this is basically by predefining the safety briefing templates. So what are the regular briefing? So normally what we will do, they will try to address whatever accidents or near misses have been happened a day previously, and some of the important spots, or they call it hot spots, where they're going to carry out some of hot works or some of the hazardous works as well. Eventually, they also will ask just to make sure all the workers PPE in place, what are their tasks and what is their activities that they majorly going to conduct on that day, right? So all of this, talking about track workers attendance, that's the main thing. I will put it up. And all of these can be digitalized so that a person that already visibly there, just for a double confirm, right? As you can see the pictures, they have attached a group photo. So this is basically the pictures already tell the person that going to refer this. So talking about the safety manager, yes, toolbox meeting have been attended by all of these people. So I have a head count of 25. Correct. And all of the important, point of discussion have been passed to them. Yes. So any occurrence of any incidents, as you can see, they have marked no. So all of this can be digitalized, and you can see we can print a report. So that is just a sample report. I've been put it up as here as well. So all of this can be done instantaneously. So as you can see, it also encourages the team to apply the workplace safety and health in construction. Why? Because it's for them, it's very easy, right? By just having a mobile application, they able to, get the full input from the toolbox meeting as well. So next is talking about collect safety observations in the mobile app. So when talking about observations, this is very common as most of them thinks, yeah, I find something is not appropriate. I just call the safety manager or safety officer to report it. So in order to call and just report it verbally without having maybe a proper photos and also proper update on it, so we able to allow them to report the hazard observation by using the mobile device itself. And as you can see, all the particulars are talking about area, location, category, type, description, contributor. So we able to deep down all the details based on observation. It's not like just a positive observation or negative observation. It will be more into detailed observation, what have been observed by our co-workers, right? So as you can see, it can be encouraging sharing of best safety practices across projects, makes safety conversation second nature. I could say that's the key here. Help find out unsafe acts and condition, follow up with corrective and maintain preventive action. So it's not only reporting and just putting up the data as a safe data, but it will lead the threat to corrective and preventive actions as well. Yeah. As you can see, it helps to identify the trends to reduce job site risk and safeguard workers' health and safety. So this is where I could touch down on 2 points later, and this could say a very major point when it comes to safety compliance, your permit to work. Because permit to work, some of them thinks that no, it's just to, if you delay the permit to work, it's going to delay my job. So it's something that need to be addressed in order for my job to finish in time, on time. But no, permit to work is something more than that, because if a accidental approval of permit to work have been happened, example, two hot works have been happening at the same location at the same site, and both of them get approval. This one, it will basically delay the job first, and basically the second one is basically going to give us a hazardous situation to happen. So that's why we encourage to create your own electronic permit work, such as hot works, lifting, or other works at work at height as well, right? So once you're able to do this, there is a feature called class detection, meaning it able to identify if there is any double permit to work have been approved, and it will be lead us to stop. One of the work will be stopped, and other will be eventually permitted to work. So that's how the old electronic permit to work works. Actually, you can see it conducts risk assessment and ensure proper measures are in place before commencement works as well. Identify workers, view their qualification. Actually, that's the very first thing. So when talking about PCW, it also related to the people's assets, subform checklists and all, right. So all of this you able to monitor, you able to access, and you able to identify by using a mobile app. So that's where the point number 3 and 4 were explaining about. And talking about the most important thing is basically increase the accountability. Who are responsible to approve it? Who have been verified? Who have been completed the work? All of these can be submitted and signed off digitally directly from the mobile device. So this is how I could say, most of them thinks of, okay, by transform it digitally, this kind of it's not miscommunications, it would be like misleading. So a same person might just approve it and go on with the PTW. They just say, yeah, my PTW is approved. No, there is a user access rights where only a person that logged in with that ID, right, they able to approve. Only the person who's have the access to verify it, they are the only one can verify. So this is how we can manage it, so that all the designated responsible person already address this PTW, and based on this, the approval have been given, right? So next, eventually going talking about safe inspection. So I could say conduct digital site inspection, talking about as a safety manager. So they can do this to just lodge unconformity with cloud-based construction. This because this is more on cloud-based, right? So talking about all your safety inspection, how many however photos you want to upload regarding that inspection. Do you want to edit that photos? Or all of these can be done by the safety managers during inspection as well. So why we are doing this? Are this just stop as just a document of inspection, just a report of inspection? No, it will assign a corrective actions on the spot with started date, completion date, and level of severity as well. So basically, it will be correlate to another workflow, which is the corrective action, and eventually it helps us to gain all the enough data for in the future for preventive and predictive actions as well. So how are we going to do this? As simple as create your own construction site safety inspection form templates. So the templates is basically will be follows all your digital, all your current paper-based forms, right? So you already have a template in place. So we will be helping out to changing on all the paper-based inspection forms into digital inspection forms. Next is a very important when it comes to automate near miss and safety incident reports. This is where you able to analyze what are the near misses and safety incidents, and you need to make sure it won't happen in the future again, right? So this is where all the input of data talking about hazards, so source, root cause analysis as well. So all of these will coming into the picture and gather facts quickly and efficiently to facilitate investigation and prevent future claims. Why we are putting up very gather facts quickly and all of this information can be get it out at I could say in a minute, because you can see all of these particulars. We're talking about incident date, incident type, hazard source. All of these basically predefined. When talking about incident type, you already put a key in the incident type, the hazard source, the cause. All of these will be triggered. So that I could say the management of this will be very much easier, and you're able to come up with a predictive analysis based on the automated near misses and safety incident reports as well. How are you going to do this? By formulating the corrective and preventive actions as well. So as you can see, conduct analysis, access frequency, most common source, and correlations. I could say, okay, this is where a part of analytics are coming into the picture. Yes, we do have our dashboarding. Yes, you do have all the data in a digital platform ready in one single platform. So by utilizing all this data, right, you can conduct an analysis that you can, okay, how frequent these near misses have happened. What is the most common source of these near misses? Is it due to inefficient or maybe a quality of the PPE, or is about the awareness of the worker? So based on that, we can guide them accordingly, right? So this is where the automation of these near misses and also incidents help us to regulate the safety proceedings as well. So next is, I think this is the most common problem, I could say, this to manage people's qualifications. So to manage them, I have my personal experience, right? Going to sites, they will open up a very long, thick logbook. I need to just go and fill out my names, my IC number, my CIDB card numbers, all of this, and they just close it. They give me a pass. I just get in. Right. So this is how typically they were doing at sites currently. So I could say by digitalizing this process, it will be more time saving. I could say, put it up very clear, because you see, you just imagine morning 8:30 or 8 o'clock, I was stepping into site. At the site entrance, there will be a long queue by all these workers holding their CIDB cards just to register in, right? So some of the sites, yeah, they already have their regular contractors, they already have their lease, no problem. But those contractors are coming into maybe to work for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They will have this difficulty where they have to wait and they just need to sign off just to go in. I could say literally your first 20 minutes to 30 minutes of your morning, and there will be delay. Eventually there will be delay in your toolbox meeting as well. All of these will lead to not following the safety proceedings, because to some extent they're going to rush to complete their work, right? So some of them, they just neglect some of the process. They just keep, this is safety proceeding, I can skip, right? We don't want to encourage them to this happen. So firstly, very first thing, streamline the employees induction process. This is inclusive of the new contractors coming into the site, right? They will normally have a very first safety briefing from the safety officer. They will be sit down in an office room, a very quick slides go run through the ISO compliance and everything, right? So this induction itself, we can digitalize it so that before they get in, and they will need to do that so that they only can be registered, right? We can do this kind of, I could say, workflow, so that yes, a new contractor going to come in, five workers to be inside. All these 5 workers need to watch that video, maybe 4 minutes or 5 minutes. After they watch it, then only they're able to proceed to enter the site as well. Just one time, and after that is more on timestamp. You can see the guy is just snapping a QR code from his safety helmet. Basically, by scanning it, a pop-up of this people's qualification. What is this green card? Talking about renewal. What kind of works he are in? Is it subcon? So he's subcon. What is handling right now? Is it electrical or putting up a power panel? So what is working right now? and you able to track down all this information just by scanning the QR code from the safety element. And next, ensure that equipment and machinery operate in safe manner. Obviously, that is where the NFC tags and barcodes are coming into place, where by just tapping out all the NFC tag attached with machineries or equipments, we're able to find it out all the equipments or machineries, maintenance certificates, calibration certificate, or even the safe work methodology as well. So a part of it, we can also integrate this system into the heavy equipment management system as well. As I mentioned, talking about managing the people's qualification. Next is obviously talking about managing the equipment certification and machinery safety records as well. So talking about this could be the similar where you can easily just create a task specific data for the equipment and machinery. Based on that, you can just operate the machinery in a safe and reliable condition. I could just put it up this way. And same concept where we able to use the NFC tags and also barcodes capability as well. As you can see, this is more in detail. I was discussing to you guys more on the best practices, how to manage some of the safety proceedings, and also all the resources we're talking about, manpower, machinery, and materials as well. And eventually, all of these are in place, right? Why we need all this data, all of these safety proceedings to be digitalized, because we need to harness the power of analytics. By having a cumulative of data, we able to proceed with analytics. So how the analytics guide us, how the analytics benefits us, basically, you can see we able to identify the system non-compliance that could lead to incidents. So before anything happens, right, we can identify it, right? I could say this is where the most important part, I could say most of the industry, including especially when you're talking about construction industries, they were looking after this. They already in Malaysia, people started to looking after this, talking about we have to come up with a preventive and predictive. I could say this is a very two key point where before a safety incident or safety uncompliance have been occurred, we have to come up with a predictive plan first. Yeah, identifying the patterns and condition that potentially risk, and also the risk level as well. Yes, there is a risk. What's the risk level? What will be the cause of the risk? So all of these we have to predict before it happens, right? Rather than after it happens, it going to basically ruin your reputations, your costs as well, your operating costs, and also basically it becomes obstacles to maybe to some extent, right? It might become obstacles for you guys to complete the project on time also, right? So how are we going to do this? I could say put it up. The main thing, gain insights that tell you what's working, what's not working, and what you can do it to fix, right? Just put it up in the layman term. And also remove obstacles, as I mentioned earlier on, hazards, and anything else that interferes with getting the job done. You guys are all aware that construction industries, we are running on timeline. And this timeline is won't be a very sweet timeline. I just put it up in that way. So yes, we have to do and we have to complete the jobs on time, just to make sure all the time that we spend is on doing the job rather than just focusing on something that it should be taken care of, right? It should be taken care of before we go and carry out the job. So basically all the safety proceedings should be, it's already, I could put it up a first priority for us, just to comply to it. That's it. It won't going to stop my work, or won't going to delay my job. And eventually, you can see, as I mentioned, right, you're going to digitalize the forms, you're going to digitalize the process. So how are you going to do this? Basically, all the safety checklists, custom fields, calculation formulas, this formula is more onto the risk assessment and notifications. I could say this is where the communication and collaboration works. How the communication comes into picture, we're talking about notification, the receiving of emails, the push notification from the app itself, digital signature. So this just to make sure the workflow in place, the person who finished the work, they have to digitally sign just to acknowledge, right? When it comes to accountability, that's the key. And eventually the workflows goes on. So it doesn't stop with one person. If a person delay his job, hey, why you are delaying? If you're delaying, what's the reason? Give me a reason. Okay, you have no reason. Okay, I'll send to a second approval, because I want to move these things. I want my contract is just going to end in another 2 days. I going to do this. are going to finish up this, right? So this is where the complete workflows come into the picture. So as you can see, all the forms and checklists, it's can be configured in a minute. So it's not something that no, I need a designated person to digitize all the forms. Like I already have like 100 forms in on my site right now I'm using. No need a man power just to do this digitalization. There is already there is a system that can be inbuilt. They're able to digitize the forms within minutes as well. So yes, overall, all of these best practices that have been shared before is going to reduce the administration task by 80%. So believe me, it's proven. And with easy HSC data entry reporting and analysis, you able to download the PDF exports, Excel import or exports, meaning the extraction of data from other systems. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier on a very initial slides, you're talking about different safety programs, but not integrated, right? So there are systems available in the market where we able to Excel import or export all the data so that all the system in place are integrated and it works in a sole single platform. So as you can see, all this information as is hosted on cloud, we able to extract the information by mobile dashboards and also web dashboards as well. And this web dashboards is basically telling us the story, what's really happening at site at real time. So why we have to do this, why we have to comply to regulations, and why I could say it's very important to have a best practice in your organization so that able to read the very first thing I just put it up this I could put enforce HSC compliance. And that's the very first thing, right? Because the regulatory body is already in place. They already have the compliance in place, but the enforcement is where we're coming into the picture, where rule-based health and safety and management software ensures rigorous enforcement and control on key processes like PTW we're talking about, right? So that's where we are coming into the picture, and obviously build and sustain. That's a very important keyword. Most of them, yeah, they already built their safety culture. Yes, they already have their own safety proceedings. They already have, the own workflow of managing the safety on site. Yes, but are they sustained? How are they going to sustain it? Basically, they just put it up, right? Yeah, I'm sustaining it because I have a regular, safety training with all the workers. Despite the new induction training, we also have a regular monthly training with work. Yes, although you have a monthly training, how you have a full visibility as, how you have a full visibility that your workers are following the safety regulation. So that's where this kind of digital system should be in place so that you have a full visibility on what's happening at site, who is delaying what, and what is the analytics out of it as well, right? And eventually it going to reduce the HSC project management costs, as I mentioned. Yes, first and foremost, we are going to throw all the paper-based proceedings when it comes to safety, because everything we're going to put it up in a digital, so it will be digital forms. That's the very first thing. And eventually it will enhance the productivity, right? As I mentioned, because you are going to reduce all the time for chasing your safety officer and also wasting your time to go in and sit in an induction training, although you are not focusing 100%. Right? So this is something happens. So, this is regular insight. So people think, okay, it's a compliance, I just go and do it. So I'm going to listen or not, I just go and sit because it's compliance. So most of them thinks in such way. So this is where we are coming in to just change the culture itself. By digitally, you have to focus on it, or else you don't know what's your next proceedings, right? So that's where we are coming into the picture. That's where I could like to share to you guys pretty much on what are the best practices in the industry. Yes, I putting up in Malaysia construction industry, they are pretty much focusing into this kind of digital tools right now, because they feel, yes, this is operating cost. That's something that I need to find out a way to cut down the cost in that sense, right? So most of them are looking towards this. So that's why I think I'm pretty much interested to touch on this topic as well. And I could say most of the attendees also more related into the safety management onto a construction as well. So feel free to share your thoughts as well, because I think I'm going to end right here on the best practices and strategies of safety compliance at construction site. If you have any questions, feel free to type it out in the text chat box. I'll be answering you guys as well. Yeah, over to Lisa. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Arvin. for the information and the engaging presentations. We have already received some interesting questions from our participants. I think now it's time to move on the Q&A segments. So I will be sharing the first question from our participants. So the first question the participants ask is, do you have any use case that have implemented this system?
Yes, there are several use cases have been implemented at Malaysia and international level. So I'm just talking about Malaysia. So because they were some horizontal construction and also vertical construction have been using this HSC management system. So I could put it up. Maybe I can just give it to you guys and project that we successfully have been deployed and have been they using, and they were very much happy with the usage of the safety management platform itself. It's the project that involved is TRX residents. So the overall TRX development, including their residents and also the niche development as well. So they were actually benefited out of it, and they feels because we just had a meeting with them last week itself to just discuss how you think that for them the key for them is basically the PTW. So that's where they feels like, yeah, this is where we feels like, okay, we have a full visibility on the PTW. Who is it, the internal staff or is it the subcontractor is delaying the jobs, right? So they find out that, so that's why they feel like, okay, this is something really interesting and this is something that we're looking forward. Yeah. So talking about not only TRX, actually, I just pointed out that that one project. There are several projects who are related to infrastructure, railway projects as well at Malaysia. Yes, they were using and they have been utilized out of it as well. Yeah. Did I answer your question, Lisa?
Yeah. Okay, dear participants, if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat box. We have received a question from Mr. Tiago. What is the estimated cost to develop and purchase the app? Will the app work via offline mode, especially at the poor network reception location?
Yeah, sure. I think I can. So there is a two questions from Mr. Tiago Ken. So the first one to address this to estimate estimation costs and develop. So basically, this system is already in place. So there is no any I could say investment into development. So all of the workflows or all of the standard forms are actually already configured. But if clients are needed to be configured according to their their workflow, so their best practices, right? So there we will be encouraging them, okay, yeah, sure, no problem, we will be accommodate based on your workflows in place. And that's where the I could say the very first setup and also the implementation will work. So it's very easy. It's basically plug and play. And when it comes to the cost, so it will be more onto subscription. So it will be a subscription model. So it will be a charge annual subscription. So there will be a setup fees followed by a subscription fees, annual subscription, basically, with unlimited users, unlimited data cap. So basically, there is no any limitation on that as well. And addressing your second question, Mr. Thiago, so talking about the offline mode. Yes, this mobile application basically is able to work in offline mode as well. And also when the internet connection get back, the data will be synced. So when the I could say the transition of data will occur. And also it doesn't limits any number of photos and also photo qualities. The photo quality is top notch because there is a tool called, it will basically compress the file when it triggers out. And when you open up in your dashboards, right, it will basically show the top quality of photos. So there is no issues when it comes to poor network reception, no issues. It able to sync after the connection get back. Yeah. So am I answered your question, Mr. Teko?
Any other questions from participants? So I think there is another question. Does this system able to integrate it with IoT?
Yes. So yes, we able to integrate with IoT. So you can see when talking about attendance, right, when I'm talking about toolbox meeting, we might, because now because of the COVID seasons and all. So we will be having like integrated to the cameras as well. So right, talking about the attendance camera that even malls also they started to use that time. I think now they already started to less because of the there is no much COVID case or something like that. So basically be able to integrate with this kind of IoTs, talking about drones or integrate with. So why drones? We're talking about infrastructure projects, right? Horizontal projects, and want to pin down based on the locations, we can capture the photos from the drone itself, and that photo can trigger to can sync to the inspection. So this is how basically IoT concepts works. So basically, yeah, we can integrate the system with IoTs. Yes.
Okay, there is another question from Mr. Mohammed Nazli. Is
Mhm.
this system or app suitable for property developer or more suitable for contractor?
Okay, I could put it up in a two ways. So talking about safety compliance, yes, the developer will have a visibility, can have a visibility on this, but when like talking about the contractor is the main guys who are going to use this. So I just put it up. All the data, the development, I mean, all the data and also the dashboarding, right? It will be good to have when a developer is viewing it. Okay, I just want to have a visibility on what happening in the aspect of safety. But when it comes to contractor, they were the most major, I could say, the major party who going to use the application itself, right? Who going to launch the reports, who going to identify what is the near misses and how to prevent this as well. But developers, yes, the data is very valuable for them. All the developers based on the near misses and all right, so they will put up for the next project, next upcoming project. So they able to configure their okay, this is a prevent, this should be a predictive action before we carry out this kind of task, because based on my past experience, this is what's recorded, right? So this is where the beneficial of two parties. Yes, each benefited to two parties as well. Yeah.
And Mr. Tiago,
Yeah.
again, add on wish to check if it is early fees is applied, is the total cost cover the troubleshooting or maintenance of app, if any?
Yes, Mr. Tiago. So since it's a cloud platform, so it's hosted in Microsoft Azure. So it's all talking about the troubleshooting, maintenance, right? So everything is inclusive. Basically, the offers inclusive in the annual subscription fees. So there is no any additional fees for maintenance of app or maintenance of the software. Yeah.
Is there any other questions that you would like to get answer from Mr. Arvin? Okay, Mr. Arvin,
Mhm.
any backup data or cloud-based or any from Mr. Tiago?
Okay, sure. So basically, how we will be putting up. So as I mentioned, right, talking about annual subscription, all the data that have been recorded into the platform itself, you able to request for archive data from us as well. So it depends. Is it 6 months once, yearly, or 2 years once, or you want to get end of the subscription? You're talking about a project for 3 years, 4 years. So let's put it up at 3 years. So after the third year, you are going to end the subscription for the particular project because the project is going to end life, right? So, okay, you're going to go to the NO stage. Okay, great. So what will happen? Obviously the subscription ends, and we will be sending out all the archive data to your machine. So we will upload into the machine. So you will able to access from that. So same, the dashboarding and everything will be there, but just that's part of a record, like basically. Yes, we do have archive data.
If there is no any other questions, I think we can end this webinar sessions. Once again, thanks, Mr. Arvind, for your grateful knowledge sharing.
Sure.
As we
Thank you,
come to
Lisa.
the end of today's webinar, I wanted to thank you to our speaker, Mr. Arvind, for sharing his valuable knowledge on this safety compliance. I also wanted to thank you for all our participants for joining us for today's webinar. So please feel free to submit your attendance. I will share the link to our chat box. This attendance is collected for sending you the e-certificate to complete our webinar session. Thank you, Muhammad Nasli. And be sure to check our websites, our social media for our upcoming webinar series. Okay. On behalf of our entire team, thank you once again for joining our webinar. We hope you found this webinar valuable, that it's contribute to your professional developments. Until next time, have a great day and thank you for joining our webinar. Welcome, welcome, Mr. Hafiz. Welcome, Mr. Kumuda.